I fell 10,000 feet from the sky. No, not like this. And not like this either. Strapped to my seat into the heart of the Amazon. I should have died that day like everyone else on Flight 508. But I didn't. I woke up alone, surrounded by the wreckage and silence. For 11 days, I fought through the jungle with no food, no water, and no idea if I'd ever see another human again. I was injured, barefoot, and barely clinging to life. Every step was a battle. Every night, I prayed I'd survive till morning. Survival, it's a story of how far a person will go when they have no other choice. When everything is stripped away, willpower is all that's left. But that's only the beginning. Before we dive into this story, let me introduce myself. I'm Nova, your storyteller for this one. I'm here to take you on a journey, one that'll challenge what you think you know and maybe push you out of your comfort zone. So, take a deep breath and let's get into this one. I can still hear the engines roar moments before the world came apart. The turbulence threw us like rag dolls as we plunged into a violent storm. I gripped my mother's hand, trying to stay calm, but the terror was palpable. Then, without warning, everything shattered. The plane dropped suddenly. Screams, sensation of falling. I was still strapped to my seat, whipped by the wind, spinning uncontrollably as the plane disintegrated mid-air. I can still hear the engines roar moments before the world came apart. The turbulence threw us like rag dolls as we plunged into a violent storm. I gripped my mother's hand, trying to stay calm, but the terror was palpable. Then, without warning, everything shattered. The plane dropped suddenly. Screams, metal ripping apart, then the sensation of falling. I was still strapped to my seat, whipped by the wind, spinning uncontrollably as the plane disintegrated mid-air. Time lost meaning. Seconds or minutes, I'll never know. And then, impact. I woke to silence. Sunlight pierced through the thick jungle canopy. I was alive, somehow still strapped to my seat, surrounded by wreckage, entangled in branches. There were no other voices, no signs of life. Just me, bloodied and broken, in the vast Amazon jungle. My collarbone was shattered, my face swollen, one eye shut, my shoes torn away. But I was alive. Barely. I called out for my mother, for anyone. But only the eerie sounds of the jungle answered. The reality sank in. I had fallen from the sky, and I was alone. Desperation kicked in. I had to move. I had grown up with the jungle. My father, a biologist, taught me the laws of nature. I remembered his words: find water, follow it. Rivers lead to people. With no food, no shelter, I knew that staying put meant death. So I started walking, or stumbling, or crawling. The jungle was relentless. The heat suffocated me, the underbrush clawed at my skin, and the buzzing of insects was deafening. Mosquitoes swarmed, their bites covering me. I was weak, hungry, and in constant pain. The infection in my arm festered, maggots squirmed beneath my skin. Each step forward was agony, but stopping wasn't an option. Days blurred together. I lost track of time, driven only by the primal need to survive. I drank from the river, but there was no food. My body grew weaker, and the hunger gnawed at my insides. At night, the jungle came alive with predators, snakes, insects, sounds I couldn't identify. Sleep was impossible. Fear kept me moving. On the 10th day, delirious and exhausted, I saw something, a boat. I thought it was a hallucination, but it was real. I stumbled toward it, collapsing nearby, and found a small hut. There were no people, but I discovered a can of gasoline. The infection in my arm had worsened, and I remembered something my father once said: gasoline could kill maggots. With trembling hands, I poured it over my wound. The pain was unbearable, but it was the only way to stop the infection from spreading. I screamed, but I felt a small glimmer of hope. I passed out, not knowing if I'd wake up. When I did, there were voices, real ones this time. Local lumbermen had found me. They couldn't believe it. Neither could I believe it myself. I had survived 11 days in the jungle, alone and injured. They treated me as best they could, took me in their canoe, through the winding rivers, back to civilization. At the hospital, I learned the truth. I was the only survivor. Out of 92 passengers and crew, I was the sole person to walk away from the crash. My mother, my friends, everyone else, the jungle had claimed them. The wreckage wasn't found for days. People called my survival a miracle, but it didn't feel like one. It felt like a cruel twist of fate, a test of endurance I didn't choose. Surviving the jungle was just the beginning. The hardest part was learning to live with the knowledge that I had lost everything and everyone I loved. But even through the unbearable loss and the scars that never fully heal, I learned something profound. The will to survive is stronger than anything we can imagine. The jungle didn't defeat me. It tested me, pushed me to the edge of what I thought possible, and somehow, against all odds, I made it out. I survived. And that's something I'll carry with me forever. Well, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild journey. Remember, no matter how dark things get, there's always light at the end if you keep moving forward. Stay strong, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, keep pushing those limits, because greatness is just beyond the edge of fear.